During the closing of the United Nations Conference in 1945, U.S. President Harry S. Truman delivered the following remarks.
Under this document, we have good reason to expect an international Bill of Rights acceptable to all the nations involved. The Charter is dedicated to the achievement and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Unless we can obtain those objectives, all men and women everywhere, without regard to race, language, or religion, we cannot have permanent peace and security in the world.
The document he was referring to was the Charter, or Founding Treaty, of the United Nations. At the time, human rights was on the minds of many around the world, including world leaders who were trying to fathom the tens of millions of lives lost on the battlefield at the hands of 2 atomic bombs and during the genocide of the Jewish people during the Holocaust. We'll explore how the war fundamentally changed how nations dealt with human rights with 3 different examples in today's lesson, each of which will have its own set of guiding questions. Our explorations will help us answer our lesson essential question. How did World War II affect United States human rights policies abroad? All right, let's dive in. In the wake of World War II and the Holocaust, the United States underwent a fundamental shift in its approach to human rights at home and abroad. As you learned in Unit 9, the Holocaust left much of the world in shock and disbelief that a government could commit such atrocities against its own people. Many world leaders were left wondering, how do we prevent this from happening again? The United States tried to assert itself as one of the leaders in answering that question. One solution to that question was the United Nations. The U.S. helped found the United Nations and hosted its inaugural conference in San Francisco, where leaders from 50 allied nations gathered to draft and ratify the UN's founding charter. This charter established the General Assembly, consisting of all UN member nations and serving as the primary policy-making body, as well as the Security Council, which is responsible for maintaining global peace and facilitating collaborative decisions among its 15 member states, 5 of whom hold permanent seats, while the other 10 are chosen by the General Assembly and serve 2-year terms. The Charter also spoke of international cooperation, self-determination for all nations, and promoting respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all. The U.S. Congress immediately ratified the Charter, and the U.S. established itself as one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. The U.S. continued to push for further action in the realm of human rights abroad. Eleanor Roosevelt, the former First Lady of the United States and a prominent human rights activist, became the chair or leader of the UN's Commission on Human Rights. The Commission's first task was drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR, a document that outlined individuals' basic rights and fundamental freedoms around the world. The UDHR committed nations to recognize that all humans are born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of nationality, place of residence, sex, ethnicity, color, religion, or any other status. But just because the committee came up with the draft didn't mean it'd be easily approved by all UN members. Roosevelt, again, was instrumental in garnering support from a diverse group of people, and eventually the UN adopted the UDHR in 1948. This document inspired the creation of the field of international human rights law. Stop and complete your graphic organizer for this section. The UDHR was not the only international document or policy that the United States contributed to in order to promote its human rights policies abroad. Delegates from the United States also played an important role during the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, or the Genocide Convention. During this convention, Raphael Lemkin, a Polish Jewish lawyer who had fled Europe during the war and found asylum in the United States, coined the term genocide to describe Nazi Germany's extermination policies against Jewish and Polish people. The convention added Lemkin's definition of genocide as any of 5 acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Pause the video and review the 5 acts in your PDF before answering the reflection question. The convention also empowered the UN to take necessary steps, including military action, to prevent genocide. It even established a legal infrastructure to prosecute individuals accused of committing genocide. Interestingly, although it was an active participant in the convention, it would take 40 years before the United States finally ratified the convention, due to its concerns that it could subject the United States to international oversight and possible interventions. This was highlighted in 1953 when a group of black leaders that included W.E.B. Du Bois used the convention's definition to accuse the United States of committing genocide against African Americans, although the United Nations refused to acknowledge the report. You'll read more about this in your PDF. Before we move on to our last example, stop and complete your graphic organizer for this section. The shift in United States human rights policy also translated into another important geopolitical development, supporting the creation of the country of Israel. The scale of Jewish suffering during the Holocaust created a compelling moral urgency for many world leaders to find solutions to Jewish persecution. One of the ideas put forth was finding a homeland for Jewish people. The area they chose was located in Palestine, an area that many Jewish people considered their ancestral and spiritual home according to their biblical history. The British Empire had occupied Palestine since the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire in 1917, and had promised the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in the region. Spurred by anti-Semitic policies in Europe and the rise of Nazi Germany, Jewish immigration to the region increased during the interwar period. However, tensions had been building between Jewish and Arab populations, many of whom had lived there for multiple generations and claimed the region as their homeland as well. In 1947, the UN suggested dividing Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem, the capital, serving as an international city. Jewish leadership accepted it, but Arab leadership rejected it, leading to civil unrest and violence in the region. But international support for the creation of Israel grew louder. Christian groups in the United States lobbied heavily for its establishment, aligning the Jewish people's biblical claim to the region as a homely land with American values of liberty and nationhood. The geopolitics of the Cold War also led some U.S. policymakers to support Israel, which they saw as a valuable political and military ally to counteract Soviet influence in the region. Eventually, President Truman himself came out in full support for the establishment of a Jewish state. But this support came with its share of controversies. Critics were quick to point out that this was a replication of the mandate system, in which European countries were given control of regions in Western Asia against the will of the communities that already lived there. They argued that this was another example of colonialism, and that it overstepped bounds and violated the principle of self-determination in an Arab-majority region. But in 1948, the State of Israel was established, triggering what is known in Arabic as the Nakba, or a catastrophe that was characterized by the mass displacement of approximately 700,000 Palestinians. The birth of Israel and the mass displacement it triggered sowed seeds for the numerous military conflicts and strained relations with its Arab neighbors, who opposed a Jewish state in Palestine, triggering wars and cycles of instability that continue today. This blend of humanitarian motivations, religious connections, and Cold War strategy heavily influenced the US support for Israel and set the stage for deep-rooted controversies and geopolitical tensions that still exist today. Before we wrap up, let's complete our last graphic organizer. In today's lesson, we explored how the US influenced global human rights policies after World War II by playing crucial roles in the creation of the United Nations, the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the Genocide Convention. We also discussed the US's support in establishing Israel, a decision motivated by humanitarian concerns, religious ties, and Cold War strategies, but which also led to lasting conflict and controversy. As we wrap up, let's reflect on this complex time in history where the US blended moral duties with strategic plans to shape its policies, leaving a lasting impact on the world and the ongoing pursuit of universal human rights. Until next time, keep making history.
Hey!